I was just showing how back in the time of Moses, back in the time of Muhammad, it was age of empires. You had the Arabia, you had the Persians, you had the Romans. Yeah, you were squashed between them. Yeah, and it was war. It's like people say about taking women as slaves. Just for example, what your right hand possesses. I'm going to ask you a question, simple for you to reflect on as well. If you in that time, a village a town comes out, you fight the city, war happens, you kill the men. What do you do with the women? Leave them? Remember, this is age of empires. Yeah. So you've killed the men, the women are left, the children are left over now and back in town because the men come out to fight, the women stay back. Men have been killed, the women are left. What do you do? That's not your solution. That's all. You leave them to the wolves for the next bandits to come along and enslave them all, or take them into your homes, marry them, give them place in your home. They cook and clean, and you give them food and security. What's better for them? God's solution is to marry them and bring them into your homes. That's God's solution. But what's man's solution? This is why it's not fair when you start quoting verses from Quran and this and that and ignoring the context, because you've got no solutions yourself. For example, what are the Muslims to do when the pagans want to murder them and kill them? What do? Do you know the history of Islam? Do you know how the Mohammedans followers were forced in the desert to starve from Mecca by the pagans? And it's only because the Jews of Medina invited him to their city to be an arbitrator that they were saved from death. Did you know that? You won't know this, because the things you're getting your information from are, they don't want you to like Islam. They want you to hate Islam. They want you to hate Islam so you don't even think about Islam for yourself. But you have to ask yourself a question: why are so many Western educated women becoming Muslim? Now I know you can show me Africans becoming Christians and Indians becoming Christians and people in war zones becoming Christians, but why are white, educated, middle-class women choosing Islam as a way of life for themselves? Why? There has to be a reason. Why did I choose Islam? I've been a Muslim now 14 years. I became a Muslim after 9/11. Did I agree with the ideology of whoever did 9/11? Of course I didn't. But I reflected on what I heard and what I was told. Have you ever read a Quran?
I have one at home. I haven't.
No, have you ever had that question? Now, every time I ask that question, yeah, I've got one at home. I don't care if you've got one at home.
Yeah, well,
have you read it?
I haven't.
Oh, read it. Read it and compare it to what you read in the Bible. There's none of this, and we went there, and he said this, and we said that, and John came and said this. No, it's I said this, you did that, I told him this, he did that, I did that, we did this for him, he did that for us, we told him this. God just telling straight. God is telling the story of what he did with Moses. He told Moses to go here, he told Jacob. Yeah, well, then we have fabricated hadith. Oh, was you filming? Yeah. Oh, you've been filmed. So then we have fabricated hadith, which are made up. And I'll give you one example of that. The Prophet Muhammad walked past two people playing chess, pointed to them and said, "This is haram." Yeah, there's a hadith that says that. We know this is fabricated. Why? Because chess didn't enter Islam until the Muslims conquered Persia, which was after the death of the Prophet, and it was the Muslims who introduced chess into Europe through Spain, and they were the first people to record their moves. So we know it's a lie. So this is fabricated. We have da'if, which are weak because we're not quite sure whether someone in the chain could be trusted or not. Yeah, and then we have sahih, which is authentic. Your New Testament, you don't know who these people are. You don't even know who Mark was, who Matthew was. Were they there? Were they witnessing these events? For example, the story where it goes in front of the Jews, where Jesus is brought, and it said, "Do you believe you're the Son of God?" He says, "I am what you say I am." Who was witness that? This is a Sanhedrin Jewish court in front of King Herod. The only people there are Jews. Yeah. So what do you think the Jews are going to say Jesus said when he was accused of that? Are you the Son of God? What do you think the Jews are going to say he said? Of course they're going to say, yeah, he said that. Because why? Because the Jews want to get rid of him. Because he's messing up the status quo. He's messing up their hierarchy. He's turning over the temples. He's changing the rules. He's calling them sons of the devil. Yeah? They want to get rid of this guy. So are you telling me when he's showed before the Sanhedrin and he's accused of being the Son of God, and they're saying, yeah, he said he was the Son of God, you believe them? When you know they wanted to kill, yet when he was in front of Pilate, he remained silent. Why is that? that? Why in front of the Jews does he confess he's the Son of God, and in front of Pilate he remains silent? I believe he remains silent in front of the Sanhedrin myself, to be honest with you. They just wanted to get rid of him. Yeah? So you've got to question who's telling you what here. And why you rely on it. Because I can see you have faith, you believe what it is, but why? Why? Because you're basing your whole life on this. Not just your life, your eternity on this.
God's not really interested.
Yeah? Jesus died for my sins. Well, Jesus didn't say he did.
That one country was...
Nowhere did Jesus say he died for your sins. You're told by other people that's why he died. Just a prime example. Jesus is teaching, I'm going to be crucified and raised in 3 days, yeah? Why did none of his disciples know this? And even when they were told by the women, they still didn't believe them.
Leave your home, go to the...
Now this is the same disciples who watched him walk on water, feed the 5,000. Now all of a sudden they don't believe him? Come on, does it make any sense?
And I will follow me and I will show you.
It makes no sense. Then you look at the tomb accounts. Now remember what I said about the Quran? If this book was from any other than God, inside you shall find many contradiction and error. I'm showing you the contradictions and error. The women go to the tomb in Mark. They say to themselves, how shall we move the stone? They get there, the stone's already rolled back. Yeah? We're going to go into the tomb. How shall we move the stone? There's an earthquake and the stone rolls back.
Reading these ideas.
What's going on here?
God's interested in the place. And he's
in Luke, they go, the angels sat on top of the stone.
The new earth, the new heavens.
What's going on here?
People are the people of...
It's all contradictory.
The people of God that he's trying to make.
And you're believing this as some kind of truth. That this is the reality.
The Jewish religion.
When I truly believe it isn't.
The temple.
That's why I mock these guys. Because they're preaching. So what? What are you preaching? You're preaching something that you've been told in here. Who says this is true?
God dwells in the temple.
Who says Jesus said those words?
All the things in the Old Testament, the journey that they were, is God really interested in the human suffering that they were going through in the land?
Take care. No worries.